Hi there, it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you very much for joining me again today. Today's project is this one. It uses two of the lovely new stamp sets, the Bokeh dots, which are gorgeous. You've got this kind of starburst and then the classic Bokeh. And I'm also using the Pressed Flowers stamp set, which is one of the host sets. So you can get this if you place a large order over £150. You can use the host rewards towards this. There are 5 or 6 host sets in the new catalogue, and they are subsidised. So they have a value, but you pay under that, and you don't actually pay, you use your host rewards in order to get these. So they are very exclusive. And I love this set. I've used it a couple of times already, but I thought I'd get it out again today. The other way of getting this, obviously, is if you host a party and you get a group of your friends together, and if the combined order is £150 or more, then again, as the hostess or host, let's be inclusive here, you get to use the host rewards. So it doesn't have to be your order on your own, it could be a group of friends getting together. So this is one of the new distinct stamps, which, if I had thought about it and had my catalogue nearby, which I don't apparently have, it's a new stamp, a new sort of stamp, which I described as pixelated, so like a newspaper print is pixelated, so you've got more little dots in darker areas and fewer in lighter areas, so it's that look. There are a couple of tips for using it, and I'm going to go through those as we go. But this was crumb cake, then mounted on crumb cake soft suede, stamped on Whisper White, and then the card is crumb cake as well. And then I've embossed with white embossing powder. So excuse me, I need to cough. So this is, I'm going to do a variation on a theme, and then I've used some of the metallic sequin assortment just as little highlights. It's a really good, inexpensive way of adding a little bit of bling to your project, because the pot of sequins is really not expensive, and of course you've got masses, so it goes a long way. So let's get started. So I'm going to use a slightly different colourway this time. I'm going to go for blues. So let's keep our fingers crossed that it's going to work. I'm going to use Night of Navy, and we're going to start with a few of the tips. So I've mounted my stamp on the block, and if you look at it, it almost looks like it's just flat. I'm going to just make sure I get these little bits of fluff off because I don't want those to show. So there we go. Right, so as I say, it does look almost as if it's just red rubber and nothing else. One of the keys to this is to not ink up by moving your stamp around, because it doesn't cover, you'll get these lines, so you don't want that. So you will find that all of these stamps are small enough that they will go in the middle of the ink pad, so you don't have to move and do it, you know, all over. So you can just ink it up. If you see, there are now fewer lines. I need to obviously do that a bit better to make sure we get rid of the lines I then put on. There we are, that looks a bit better. The other thing is that you don't want your ink pad to be too juicy. You want it to be well inked, but you don't want it too juicy. Otherwise, because it's basically just made up of little dots, the surface will fill, the ink will fill in those the gaps in between, and you could end up with losing the image. So a not too juicy ink pad, and just keep it on the ink pad. Then just stamp in the usual way. And I am just going to hold that in place for a little while. Actually, I do need that again, so I'll keep that out. And there we go. So really wonderful image. Can you see all that those wonderful bokeh images. It's just really, really pretty. Now I need that to dry while I'm doing some other bits, so I will put it to one side whilst I pull in just a piece of Whisper White for the front of the card, and I'm going to use it's almost like the burlap ribbon print, so it's this from the pressed flower stamp set, and again I'm going to ink this up. Whoops, let's move everything. I'm trying to use my grid paper on my normal surface because it's actually a really good thing to have there, but it does move, so I'm going to need to stick it down with masking tape. So this, because it's not the distinct stamp set or type of stamp, you can move it around on your ink pad. Gosh, my brain's not working this morning. Now this is just wide enough to go across the middle of my card, and I'm going slightly down from the middle, but it will reach from side to side. Just. There you are. So it's just wide enough for my usual first layer mat, or no, bigger mat. So yes, first layer mat. That's all the stamping I need for the outside. I do need to stamp on the inside. So I've got another piece of Whisper White, and on the inside I've just done some little flowers. So again, I'll ink up, and all I did was 1, 2, 3, and we might as well just go for a little faded bit. So because it's a darker colour, you get more impressions out of it. So pop those to one side to clean in a bit, and let's cut this. Shall I cut it first or shall I emboss it first? Oh, decision time. I think I'm going to emboss it first. So it should now be basically dry. I'm going to take my embossing buddy and just make sure that it is properly dry. And I'm taking the frondy flower. I am a gardener, but I'm not a gardener who understands what it is I'm planting. I just plant pretty things. I'm going to ink this up with Versamark ink, and I find it easier to do this, sideways. Don't ask me why, but I do. And it doesn't matter if it's not completely square, or straight, I should say, because, you know, it's fine. It's a plant. So press that down well. Now the key is to not rock, because if you've got any ink on the edge of your stamps, then you'll get that onto your stamped surface as well, and that's not a good look. Right, white embossing powder with my ever so technical piece of card for adding the embossing powder to the card. And I do like to give it a couple of spoonfuls, for want of a better word, and then just a gentle tap to get any loose off. Actually, we'll just do it one more time. The white embossing powder is slightly grainier than some of the metallics, so it is just worth spending a little bit of extra time making sure you've got enough on your stamped image. And seal that up. Grab my trusty cheese board. Where would I be without my trusty cheese board? And then just clip that there. And grab my heat tool. Apologies, this is going to get a bit loud. It's always worth just heating your heat tool up before you use it. That way it's less likely to curl the paper. And then I just slowly move it around. I'm not one of these people who wafts. I kind of stick it in one place and then move it round. That way the embossing powder actually has a chance to melt properly. Right, that done, let's pop my heat tool back, take that off, and grab my trimmer. So, one trimmer, and yes, I have not yet removed the film from my trimmer. I've had this trimmer now for probably about 6 months, and I still haven't taken the remove protective film before using sticker cover, because do you know what, it actually works quite well with it on. Right, let's pull it down. So what I'm going to do is trim this so that I'm just left with the stamped image. So I need to make sure that I get my first cut straight, and I mean straight to the stamp rather than straight to the card, because I may not have stamped it totally straight on the card. But there we are. So I don't know if you can see, I've literally just skimmed the edge off. So now I know that that edge is straight, so I can butt it up against the butt board at the top and then trim off all the way around. And I always do that when I'm doing this sort of mounting, because I'm going to use the smallest little mounts. I always cut my mounts after I've trimmed my stamped image. That way it actually fits. So I'll move that just to one side. So I'm going to mount that on Balmy Blue and Night of Navy. And I'm just going to decide which way round I want it. Yep, no, I'm going to go Balmy Blue first. So I'm going to use some multi-purpose liquid glue, just a little tiny weeny bit. I prefer this when I have heat embossed. A little tiny weeny bit coming out would be nice. I prefer this when I've heat embossed because there will be a very little bit of curl. The curl is less because I use my cheese board, so that acts as a resist for the heat, so it kind of all keeps everything a bit flatter. Just going to rub the back of that. If I pop that so that it's nose down while I'm doing this, that might actually help. Right, so now I'm going to trim this down just by lining it up and trimming. Now you've seen me do this before. You're either going to see me doing this tomorrow, or you saw me doing it yesterday, and I can't remember which order I'm doing my videos in, but I have been doing this over the last couple of videos, or will be doing this over the next couple of videos. Right, so same again. That's better. It's amazing what happens when you have the point pointing down. So then pop that on there. Straight is always good. And of course the joy with the multi-purpose adhesive is that you get wiggle room, which I do like a bit of wiggle room. Now this is not straight. I think, not quite sure where that's not straight, but I can straighten that out. So I will do so. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut that there just to get rid of that piece, and then get that straighter. There we are, that's a bit better. Or it will be by the time I trimmed it down, because otherwise it's going to annoy me, and you know me, I get annoyed by these things. That's better. Right, now when you do your second layer, you do need to be a bit firmer with your trimmer because you've got a bit more bulk here. So you do need to just be a little bit firmer than you would otherwise. Otherwise you need to go back and forth, so up and down, just to make sure that you do go all the way through. So here, I don't know if you can see that, but I didn't catch all of it, so I'm just going to trim that off. Right, I don't need that anymore, so let's get rid of that. So on the original I put linen thread round, but on this one I'm going to use the new Night of Navy Baker's twine, and this is the medium weight Baker's twine. Because it's a little bulkier, I'm just going to go round once. With the original and the linen thread I went round 3 times, but I think more than one of these will be too much. So we'll just go round once, and I'm just going to tie that in a knot. Like that, and that is what I would call a reef knot, but you may call it a flat knot. But having been brought up in the sailing fraternity and having been in the Navy Reserve, for me this is a reef knot. So for me, you either have it in the middle or you have it to one side, but you do not have it not quite either. So I'm going to, you can bend your card and just move that a wee bit. That's better. And it just adds a little bit of something. So now all we need to do is pop the card together. So I've got a balmy blue card base, which is just a piece of standard A4 cardstock cut in half and then scored down the middle. Although actually I score it down the middle and then cut it in half, because that way I only have to score 1 to get 2. Right, okay, so a bit of snail. I'm going to do the inside first. So I'm just going to run some snail on the inside of my card. And then pop this down. I do find it easier when I'm using a dry adhesive to have the adhesive on the surface I'm sticking to, rather than the other way round. Otherwise you end up with it sticking to you. So again, I'm going to use some snail to attach my mat to my card. And just because at the moment we have got a heat wave, I'm adding an extra bit of snail. Then pop this down and press. Then some stamping dimensionals on the back. Oops, not that many. And I'm going to use the edges for the bottom here, because the edges are just that little bit narrower than the dimensionals themselves. And as I've got my brain baker's twine, I don't want to catch that with the dimensional, or it'll look all weird and lumpy and I won't like it. It will irritate me. So that's fine. And then this we pop just in the middle, but at the top, so I'm kind of getting an even on 3 sides and not worrying about the bottom. And there we are with that. And then for my bit of bling, I've got a piece of spaghetti. Now some of you may have seen me use this before. This was a friend of mine who actually gave me this tip. If you get a bit of your spaghetti damp, you can pick up your sequins. So I'm just going to get some multi-purpose glue and just add a little tiny dot there, one over here, and then one just down here. So not actually on that mounted bit. And then because I've got my chamois here, I can pop my spaghetti in that because it's damp, and as if by magic pick up my sequin. Oops, just want the one, please. There we go, pop one there and use the other end just to hold it in place. Oops, and pick it up with my finger. Apparently that's a good idea. There we are. Just moisten the end again, and then I want to see if I can get one of these teeny weeny baby ones. There we are. And just pop that there. And that's that done. So I hope you enjoyed that. I love these Bokeh stamps. They are just so amazing. The fact that you can start with something that looks completely flat and it produces this, but as I say, do use an ink pad that's not too juicy, otherwise it does go a bit odd. So tips for that are, as I say, don't use the edge of your stamp, pad, or you'll get a line, and use my brain really is pathetic sometimes. You get what I mean. You heard it at the beginning. I don't need to repeat myself. I think 20 minutes is probably about 15 minutes too long anyway, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Do remember, if you wish to subscribe so that you know that I've posted a new video, there's a little subscribe button down there. When we get to 4,000 subscribers, which is very close, I am recording this in advance, so we may have got there, but when we hit 4,000, there will be a little giveaway. So just saying. If you don't already subscribe to my blog posts by email, pop over to my blog. There's a link for that immediately below, which will have a list of all the products that I've used and the dimensions as much as I can. I'll explain how I've done it. So that's immediately below. So do click on that, and you will then get the option to subscribe by email to my blog posts. So you'll get an email in your inbox just to say that I've posted a new project. And I normally post every day, but occasionally I post extras. So just saying. I recently posted an extra about the new joining offer that's coming in July. So that's worth having a look at. And also, you will find below a link to all my social media and my online store and all that good stuff. There's just one link, and if you click on that, you get a list of all my social media links, including my online store. It would be great if you wanted anything, if you chose to shop through me. That would be fantastic. And if you use the host code, you then get to share in the host rewards. Thank you very much indeed for joining me again today, and I will see you very soon.